gentlemen, to the first RHHS TEDx Club event of this year, ENVISION. My name is Felicia.
My name is Samantha, and we will be your MCs for tonight. Before we start introducing the amazing speakers, we would like to begin this afternoon in a good way by acknowledging the land we are on. We are all treaty people, and North Region District School Board covers more than one treaty area. Therefore, we use a combination treaty land acknowledgement at Richmond Hill High School. We would like to start by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territories of the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe people, whose presence here continues to this day.
The land we are on is at the meeting place of two treaties, the land of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We would also like to acknowledge the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nations as our closest Indigenous community and our partners in education. Miigwech, merci, and thank you.
To start the night off, we have Arjun Pillai with his talk on the new virtual world.
Arjun Pillai is a grade 12 at Richmond Hill High School who fell in love with all things technology at a very young age and hopes to one day develop the technology that will change the world.
Let's hear it for Arjun.
Hi, Arjun.
How's everybody doing today?
I'm doing great. Yeah!
Well, I mean, is today a Friday?
No.
Anyways, okay, it's not a Friday. That's probably why. So let's just start off. I want everyone to imagine a world where you could do anything. A world in which you could be anyone. A fantasy world, a crafted world that's everything that you can make of it. So this world is virtual reality. So today I'll be talking to you about virtual reality and augmented reality and all the cool applications of it. Imagining worlds that you could only dream of, creating these worlds. So, meet my friend Lucas the Spider.
Hi, Lucas.
Lucas is an adorable little CGI spider that was created by some guy named Joshua and his little cousin. Not for any particular reason, but just for fun. And it took the world by storm. And so now it has over 150 million views of this adorable spider, and there are so many people that have fallen in love with him because of just how adorable he is. And so I'll be honest with you, if I see something like creepy or something crawling around in my bathroom, I'm gonna bolt out of there. I really don't do well with bugs or like insects, but I have no problem with Lucas. And why is that? It's because he's not real. He's just been created. He's been like created into this adorable, into this very cute idea. And so if I were to talk to Lucas, I wouldn't have any problems with that. So I was thinking, what if you could apply this more? What if you had somebody who's normally afraid of spiders, but they have no problem with Lucas? They're able to talk to him. If they were to have a conversation with Lucas, they'd be able to overcome this fear of spiders. What if you apply that more? What if you had somebody with a fear of heights? They could, using virtual reality, they could go through every skyscraper, or they could like do the tightrope across like a canyon. And so they could do things that they would never be willing to do in real life through virtual reality. Like do the things that would make your skin crawl. And so that's something unique about virtual reality that I don't think we could have ever gotten anywhere else. This is a real thing right now. It's called Google's VPS, Visual Positioning System. And so let's say, I'm sure all of us have like a similar experience. Let's say you're heading downtown with some friends to go get lunch or something. And so you get off at college and now you don't really know where to go. Like your friend gave you some directions about some street, except you're not really sure where the street is. So you're left trying to piece together the information that you have and try to apply it to the real world. Except now you don't have to. Now you're not left in that awkward middle ground trying to put the digital world into real life. Now they're merged, one and the same. And so everything that you see on here, it's added on to the real world. And so now, instead of getting lost and being left by yourself, now you can have like an animal guide, a little fox that can just take you to where you want to go. And so if you see some of the videos of this, it shows the fox going down the street with you, the fox turning its head towards where you want to go. And so when we see this, with the ability to add on all the information that we have in our cell phones just onto the real world, it'll really change the way that we take a step forward. So now, applying it to our lives. I'm sure we've all had a teacher drone on and on about facts that we don't really understand, because to us it's all just like words and terminology that's just spewed out of a textbook and we don't really get it. But imagine being able to see it, being able to like experience what it is that you're learning. If you're learning the heartbeat, you could see a real heart pumping. You could see the cells in the body move around, being able to live it. That's something that you'd never get from a textbook or just being an ordinary student. And so I think that this will change the way that we really see and we really learn everything. And so, but it's not just us, it's not just students, it's everybody. Everybody can learn in a new way. Because I'm far more likely to trust a pilot that's had 1,000 hours of flying experience before he's ever stepped foot in a cockpit. So imagine if they were able to experience these new things without ever having the danger or ever having the risk of the actual situation. Surgeons who could perform surgery without anyone's lives being at risk. Or again, like pilots who are able to experience and see what it is to fly before being in a metal cage 10,000 feet above the air. And so with this technology, it's taking all this information, taking all the potential knowledge and really materializing it into your world. And so you can see things that you would never see. Being able to change the shape, seeing the way an atom works right in your palm of your hand. And so imagine just being able to see everything, being able to experience everything. That's going to change the world. And so the real reason that I started this topic was because I saw Ready Player One and all the virtual reality stuff in that movie. And so in this movie, they have something called an oasis. It's a virtual world in which they can play as random characters. There's a lot of fantasy, pop culture references. And so I thought it was really cool because this ordinary person in, I believe, Ohio was able to be a great warrior, a great detective, and so he was able to be anything that he really wanted to be through the power of virtual reality. He could go to every world that he ever wanted, every world that he ever thought of. And so now we're not just left with storybooks or movies. We're not just passive spectators. Now we're changing it from just a story that we're watching, a story that we're seeing, and now it's becoming our story. We're put into it, and that level of immersion is going to change the dynamic of how we learn, how we entertain ourselves. It's going to change the dynamic of the world overall. And so this isn't just something that we're doing alone. It's not just our world. It's something that we can share throughout everything. And so we share these new ideas, these new concepts, being able to bring forth and materialize things together as a society. And so it's not just changing our individual lives, it's changing the way that we interact with each other, the way that we learn, the way that we step forward in the world. And I think that when we change all these little things about the way that we are, the way that we interact, I think at a fundamental level, we change who we are as people. So if I leave you with anything today, I think it should be like a wonderment, an amazement at the idea of the potential of the technology that we're making today. It's not just changing our world, it's creating new worlds entirely. And I, for one, can't wait for that new virtual world.
That was a great way to start out our event and only a glimpse of the content and intelligence of what's up to come next. Next we have Julia with her talk In Their Life.
Julia is a grade 11 student who struggles with keeping on top of, well, everything. She's a student, a friend, a daughter, an athlete, a sister, and for the next 10 minutes, a speaker.
Hi. So, how many of you out there are the eldest sibling? The youngest? Or you're the one in the middle that doesn't really matter? Just kidding. I'm actually the eldest sibling, and I have two younger sisters. And their names are Iris and Ivy. They're 8 years younger than me, which I consider is a pretty big gap. So last year, my sisters came to me with a problem. They had to write a journal response, and the prompt was, who is your role model? I'm sure many of you have had that prompt too, and when I got this in grade 3, I didn't exactly know how to answer it. What if I didn't have a role model? What if I was too good for a role model? What if I haven't met my role model yet? And so my responses were always very generic. Martin Luther King Jr., my favorite volleyball player, and the reasoning for it was always, they did a good thing. And even though they did make significant changes in the world, those changes didn't actually resonate with me. So when my sisters came to me with that problem, I gave them an equally generic response. Write about someone who you love, who you admire, who you look up to be like. And when they came back with that journal response, I realized that they had written about me. Now the first thing they wrote was, my elder sister Julia is my role model. I admire her because she buys me bubble tea every day. So I'm officially the best sister in the world. But by the end of the journal, they had written this. I want to be like my older sister. And that was when I realized that I was actually making a significant impact in someone else's life. Every action around the household, every word I said, was subconsciously being documented in their minds. They copied my eating habits, my wardrobe, and they'll never forget the first time that I said the S word. So, this makes me want to pop the big question. Why do others' thoughts of us matter? Now, you might argue that the answer is quite obvious. We have a certain image we want to maintain around other people. And in this world, there are certain expectations that we have to meet up to. But it can get a little bit more complex than that. I once read a book by Gretchen Rubin called Better Than Before. And in this book, she categorized expectations into two: inner expectations and outer expectations. Outer expectations are the ones that others expect of you, like that school project deadline or abiding by the law. And inner expectations are the ones that you expect of yourself, like that New Year's resolution of trying to eat healthier. Some of us will try to meet both type at the same amount, and hats off to you if you're able to do that. But most of us will try to meet outer expectations more because we care more about what other people think of us. Contrastingly, you might prioritize yourself over others, or you might just not care about either type at all. But either way, we must admit that expectations are important to us. You might try to achieve high marks because that's what's expected of getting into that comp sci program. Or you might go on a diet because that's what's expected of getting fit. Or you might console a friend even though you have 2 tests the next day because that's what's expected of a good friend. And for me, I was conscious of every little thing I did around my sisters because that's what was expected of being a good sister. So I want to illustrate this a little bit more with this new habit that I tried a long, long time ago, bullet journaling. Now, for those of you who don't know, it's essentially a very sophisticated and advanced planner known for its aesthetic design. And I tried to do this, but when I did start, I realized that A, I am no artist, and B, it was very time consuming. But this idea of planning things and writing them down was very appealing to me. But you know that feeling when you're tired, you had a long day, and it's 3 days, and this planner's been updated 3 days ago, and you have a big test tomorrow that you forgot. And eventually, this became a problem for me, because I realized if I can't even stay on top of a 5-minute planning task every day, how was I going to do anything else? But a solution sent itself to my doorstep. My sisters were entering grade 4, and I decided to introduce this concept to them, just for fun. I told them, this is very important. You have to stay on top of it. It will keep your life very organized, and I was also definitely staying on top of this task. But I was caught by surprise when I realized that 2 weeks later, they had been keeping up with this planner. And that resonated with me so much. I realized that they were doing this because of me. They were doing this because of me, which is why I had an obligation. This idea of obligation and expectation plays a huge role in our lives. Initially, I tried to do this planner for myself because it would keep my life more organized. But whether I did it or not didn't affect anybody else. But by getting my sisters to start planning with me, I turned this task from an inner expectation into an outer expectation. And this doesn't only apply to me being a good role model to my sisters, it applies to every single one of you. I want you to think right now of a goal that you've been trying to achieve, but it's kind of just been sitting in the back of your mind and you never really took the first step to do it. Now ask yourself, why? I'm sure there are many, many reasons, but I can bet you that one of the main reasons is that there is no external factor pushing you. There's no deadline for it, no one's talking to you about it, nobody knows about it, so you really don't need to start. But now you know how to fix that problem. Because all you have to do is to get someone else involved in the process so that you are able to take that first step and stay committed. For example, we all know that New Year's resolutions are hard to keep, but that's because you're in it alone. If you get a good friend to push you, you'll do the same for them. Think about what you want others to learn from you. Instead of looking up at someone, looking for a role model, envision yourself as a role model to other people. So this is the takeaway I want you to have from my speech today. What impact do you have in someone else's life? Thank you.
That was so inspirational. I feel like this is something that everyone can resonate with. Being an influence on your friends and family.
Next up is quite an interesting topic and a self-explanatory one too.
We have Sebastian F., who enjoys visual arts and cooking, and although he may be an amateur chef, he's still full of aspiration.
He is here to tell you a life lesson from his passion, so we would like to welcome Chef Sebastian F.
Oh my God.
So, this one time I was relaxing on my couch, and since it is so tough to sit there all day, I decided to go to my kitchen to make myself lunch. And after scouring the pantry and fridge 2 times, hoping something would miraculously appear out of thin air the second time I checked, it didn't, by the way, I decided to test my skills in the culinary arts to the truest form. I made a sandwich. And that's exactly what I'm here to talk to you about today. But not just any run-of-the-mill sandwich. No. I'm going to talk about the most legendary and world-renowned breed of sandwiches. The art of the perfect sandwich. And you see, what makes the perfect sandwich so magical is that it's not just a sandwich. You could be using the steps, but end up making a garden shed, or a book, or a presentation. And furthermore, the perfect sandwich is opinion-based. If you think you've achieved near perfect, and somebody disagrees with you, that's their opinion. It's different from yours. So of course we have to start off with our bread, our base. bread is, in a way, is like the cover of a book. It holds everything in, but it also holds the first impression. And although people say not to judge a book by its cover, first impressions are still important. So make sure you put in a good deal of effort right here to make your first impression outstanding, even if whatever you're making is for yourself. I still say, dang, I made this, to myself after I've executed a perfect sandwich on anything. So next we have our sauces. And this is my favorite part of the sandwich because it represents your best effort put into a single ingredient. For example, it would be like a light or a window in your shed, a unique character or plot element in your book, or the colors or the visuals on your presentation. But the danger in sauces is that there can be inconsistencies. Make sure you spread out your sauce. Make sure you spread out your effort. If there's too much effort in one area, it can feel too concentrated and people can't focus on what you're saying. There's too much going on at once. And if there's too little, then people find it boring and lose interest in the rest of your project. And the next part, before you groan and sigh at the vegetables, is which are the beneficial aspect of the sandwich. And what I mean by that is, by putting vegetables in your sandwich, you've now balanced out your sandwich. You've made it beneficial to eat it in a way. And applying this, it would be like, now you have storage space for your tools in that shed, or you've educated or entertained somebody and possibly made money with your book. And if you follow the steps right, you should have a pretty good mark on that presentation. And now everything I've taught you, every ingredient, every step, is all for this moment. The meat, or fish, whatever floats your boat. And the whole point of this is it's like the main content of your sandwich. Whatever you've built is for this. For your shed, it's the tools you're putting inside it. For the book, it's the story. And for the presentation, it's the information you're presenting. And with that being said, if you lack content, the rest of your sandwich will lack. If you lack tools, what's the point of building a shed? You could keep them in a small box in your garage. Nobody's going to pick up your book in the first place if you lack a good story. And what's the point of making a presentation if you have nothing to present? It's just a bunch of pictures with cool colors. And now that we've gotten through the intense part of the sandwich, it brings us to the last easy part. The extra toppings. Like chips, chili peppers, or pickles. If you're feeling like really wild and out there, you might go with cheese. And the whole point of this is to finish up everything in a nice, neat manner, to get everything done with a nice, neat little bow. So applying this, it would be like the paint color or the floor inside your shed, the font you produce your book in, or the slide transitions, and again, the font on your presentation. And that about sums up what I have to say. And before I step off stage, just to wrap everything up. The perfect sandwich isn't a technique that's going to get you everything done in a perfect manner, but rather a tool that's going to help you strive to achieve your highest possible. And just to say all the ingredients in a nice, quick little sentence, there's the bread base, the best effort sauces, the beneficial veggies, the main component meat, and the complementary extra toppings. So, line? No, I'm joking. Thank you for listening, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Sebastian sure has a convincing way of making a perfect sandwich.
Definitely. What a unique way of looking at the world. Makes me hungry just thinking about it.
Speaking of food, Samantha, what's coming up next?
A brief intermission, so come back in 15 minutes. Remember to stick around for more food, fun, and fun.
All right, everybody, we'll be beginning in a second. But before we do, let's play a little game. When I say Ted, you say Ed. Okay? Ted? No. Ted? No. Ed. ENVISION. Ready? RHHS? RHHS! RHHS? RHHS! Alright, welcome back to the second half of RHHS's TED Club's event ENVISION. Hope you all were able to enjoy some refreshments and snacks.
Now that everyone's settled down and hopefully not hangry, let's introduce our fourth speaker of today. In just a moment, he'll be talking about Batman versus Superman. Who is morally better?
Our next speaker is one interesting guy for sure. He likes to walk around calling himself Superman. From a young age, superheroes were always an inspiration for him.
He also says that he doesn't think he's very qualified to speak on a lot of topics. But if there's one thing he's an advocate of, it's how to live a happy and moral life. At this time, we introduce to you the one and only Brian Frias.
How do you serve cake with no forks?
Okay, I stand before you guys today proudly wearing a Superman shirt and a Batman cape. When I was offered to do a TED Talk, I said I was going to do a topic on Batman and Superman. I know, it's childish, but these two are superheroes that everybody knows about, and they were superheroes that changed my life as a growing boy. If you haven't seen the movie Batman vs. Superman, that's okay, because I'm not here to talk about the movie. I'm here to talk about an observation I've made about the numerous Batmans and Supermans that we come across in our day-to-day lives. And you'll see what I mean by that. But first, we have a question to answer. Who is morally better, Superman or Batman? We'll hold a comparison between the two, their strengths and weaknesses, and we'll answer the question, who is morally better? Let's start off with Superman. Who doesn't love Superman? He has the strength to move planets, the speed to outrun light, the durability to withstand whatever punches get thrown at him. Heck, he's practically invincible. But what's more important is he takes those powers and he uses them for good. And because of that, the people of Metropolis and of the world love him. They praise him and some even worship him. When people see the symbol, that Superman symbol right there, they know that there is somebody that is out there that they can hope towards. Somebody that they can pour their gratitude and love towards. Someone whose name's Superman. So, if Superman is this amazing, you have to ask yourself, what weaknesses does he have? Well, a lot of us are familiar with the kryptonite weakness, yes, but that's a physical weakness. Let's think moral weaknesses. Well, you have to ask yourself, how hard is it to be the good guy when you have an infinite amount of power? In real life, we don't have an infinite amount of power. Sometimes we have to make tough choices, or we have to deal with things that aren't in our powers. This is not the case for Superman, though. He's not limited by the same laws of space and time, and so he presents an unrealistic view on how to handle all problems. Another thing is, how hard is it to be the good guy when you're being loved and worshipped? Superman's love and worship, albeit maybe it's deserved, but what if we took that away? What if we flipped the script and everybody hated Superman? How would he hold up? Would he still fight for the people? Okay, next up, Batman. Let's actually start off with Batman's negatives. Batman, like us, is a human. And so, unlike Superman, he has to abide by the same laws of space and time. And because of this, he has to make decisions that some people are not happy with. There's two different crimes happening. Which one do you save? There's two different people about to die. Which one is he going to go for? The question here is it okay to sacrifice the good of some for a greater good? Sometimes Batman has to make these tough choices, but sometimes the responsibility gets to him and he can become selfish. Another thing is, the people of Gotham City actually hate Batman. Batman is scary. You see, Superman inspires hope, Batman instills fear. Superman is the hero of the day, but Batman is the hero of the night. Superman is your friend, and he commands respect because people see him doing good. But Batman is your enemy, and he commands respect because people are just afraid of him. The question here is it okay to rule by fear instead of ruling by hope? And also, just one small thing, is it okay to do good if you support crime in the process? Because a lot of people consider Batman a criminal. Now, I just trashed on Batman, but it's not all that bad though. See, because Batman is limited by space and time, he doesn't provide a very optimistic view on how to handle our problems like Superman, But the view is more realistic because we can't be everywhere at once the way Superman can be. And so Batman is there to provide us that more realistic take. As well, even though people hate him and they make and Batman makes people scared of him, it's kind of inspiring because despite the fact that people don't recognize him for what he's doing, despite the fact that he's considered the villain, he continues to do good anyways. He continues to do good even when he doesn't get the recognition. And that's called ultimate altruism. And Batman is oftentimes considered the hero that we may not want, but the hero that we need. Now, that's enough with the analysis. We have a question to answer. Who is morally better? Is it Superman or Batman? Both of them have their strengths and weaknesses. They're both generally good. The time you've been waiting for. The answer, who is morally better, is, I did not read that far into it. I don't have an answer for you guys. But that's okay, because you guys can decide for yourself. But I also don't think there is a right answer. It's not the idea anyways. See, the reason why these two are so different is because of their upbringing. Batman was raised from a twisted and depressing childhood. He had no parents. And also, he's only human, so he can't replace Superman. Superman is an alien with superpowers, so not only can he not replace Batman, but he also shouldn't. It's not a role for him to play. These two disagree on how to enforce justice so much. They're basically polar opposites, and yet you'll notice on the screen, every single version of the Justice League has both of them in it, and they're always front and center, because they're both, even though they're polar opposites, they're both necessary in the fight against evil. So, what this means is, no matter what they are good at, no matter what strength they've been given, they use it towards the goal of fighting for good. And what this means for us is this. I made an observation about people around me. You are either a Batman or a Superman. If you are a Superman, then you are a big picture type of person. Somebody who can inspire masses and has the charisma to tell others to do good. If that is you, then be that Superman. Other people, unfortunately, may not have the same charisma, but they do have the mental strength to do what's right, even when people don't appreciate them for it. If that's you, then be that Batman, and that'll be your way of doing good. No matter what it is, whether you're a Batman or Superman, you can be that type of good. And understand that whichever one you are, you can also sometimes borrow traits from the other. For example, I like to be Superman more because of his reputation, but sometimes I have to make a tough decision in which I turn into Batman quickly, and then once I'm done with that tough decision, I revert back to the Superman. So, one last point. Batman and Superman are amazing, but if you take away their powers, because we are talking about a fictional world, right? So if you take away their powers and everything that's unrealistic about them, they really are just Clark Kent of the Daily Planet and Bruce Wayne, the millionaire. And yet, I would still consider Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne superheroes. Because to be a superhero, I would say all you have to do is be good and proactively do good. And so, there's a lot of good people in this world, but there's a difference between a good person and a superhero. Good people react to things around them in good ways, whereas superheroes are proactive in doing good. Good people react while superheroes proact. So, in the case of Batman and Superman, even though they are just Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent, they are superheroes because they go out of their way to do good for other people, even when it doesn't directly involve them. And so we can learn from this. I'm sure all of you guys are good people, but if you want to take that next step and be a superhero, then be proactive in finding good things to do. Now, I'm going to take this off. First, the cape. Alright, you get the idea. Okay, I took off the cape and I took off the shirt. But if you'll notice, I'm actually still wearing Batman and Superman despite me not having their clothes. Because it's not about their costumes, it's about what they are to you on the inside. And so now I ask Whichever one you are, whether you're a Batman or a Superman, just focus on doing good, serving justice, and being the true superheroes of this world. Thank you.
That's our Minister of Publicity right there.
Yeah, I never thought he could top his banana speech for Stuco, but he just did.
Our event is coming towards an end, but we have one more TED Talk before you go.
In a world of constant development of technologies and AI, what will happen when AI and humans coexist?
We now welcome a speech from Alice, who has had the passion for this topic at a young age. Give it up for Alice.
Imagine a world where we're all equal, where there's no discrimination, no social inequity, and no poverty. But I'm not here to talk about different countries, nor different ethnicities. I'm here to talk about two different species, human and artificial intelligence. Imagine a world where AI can run for presidential elections, becoming world leaders. A world where we pursue the equity between human and AI instead of the equity within human society. Now, is that a horrifying future to think about, or is it something that will inevitably happen? What will the future be like? We see that to give the same statuses to AI as human for them to coexist with us. One important thing that AI is lacking, that science has not even yet proven, is a consciousness of artificial intelligence. We simply can't tell when will AI ever gain their own consciousness, which creates a roadblock to the coexistence of human and AI. However, what we also see is that the intelligence of AI is growing at a rapid rate. Noting that the average intelligence of most AI only reaches to the equivalency of a 4-year-old in the year of 2013. However, reaching to equivalency of a well-developed adult in the year of 2029. We see that the intelligence of AI is growing at a rapid rate, such that maybe one day no human will be able to understand the intentions or the mindsets or the logic or the intelligence of AI. Now, this still brings back to the most generic problem that we have been talking about, the consciousness of AI. The most foreign question that we think of when we see artificial intelligence: can AI think? Now, this can only be illustrated by two important people, Alan Turing and John Searle. Now, both of them have made two very famous tests on the topic of the AI consciousness. Let's start with Alan Turing. Alan Turing, often claimed as the father of computers. He strongly believes that computers can think by themselves, and he designed a specific test to prove his point. Now let's go through the test together. As a rational person, you're being put into a room while a computer is being put in another. Your friend, she gives a series of questions to both at the same time and waits for a response. Alan Turing believes that if the judge fails to identify which response is from whom, the computer has the ability to think. So ultimately, what he is telling you is that if a computer can respond like any other rational person would, it has the ability to think like us. However, let's not jump to conclusion too fast, because we have to take a look at another test that John Searle built to defeat what Alan Turing has told you. What John Searle built is another test, which is called the Chinese room test. But you can think of any other languages that you don't speak, if you do speak Chinese in this case. Now let's walk through this test again together. You're again being put into a room, however with a small window on it. In the room, you have some writing utensils, paper, and you have a dictionary that translates English to that foreign language that you don't speak. Now the test goes like this. Your friend, she again gives you a series of questions, however written down on a piece of paper and in that foreign language that you don't speak. And she passes that to you through the window. What we're going to do is that we're going to use the dictionary as a translator from the foreign language to English and put our response in the foreign language and pass it back outside for the judge. What John Searle is saying is that as long as you and the judge don't have any other verbal communications or don't engage with any other interactions, the judge will believe that you do speak that language. You are able to answer the questions, but do you really speak the language? In this test, John Searle illustrated you guys as artificial intelligence and illustrated the dictionary as a knowledge that we gave to AI. We see that what he is saying is that when AI responded, is it really responding out of their own consciousness, or just responding out of the knowledge that us humans gave to artificial intelligence? Now we see that we can't really tell when will AI ever gain their own consciousness. Given a scenario that they can think, what will the future be like? Now, the fundamentals of artificial intelligence cautiously states that although we want machines to imitate human mindsets and logic, we still possess the overall power to artificial intelligence because of the rest of their consciousness. Now, what exactly are those? Let's start with why are us human the dominant species? We see that human has the most intelligence, and we have the most strategies and the skills for us to be kept on the top of the food chain. And this is used to other species in our own benefits. We see that once artificial intelligence do gain their consciousness, do have a separate mindsets than us human. They have nothing different than us. They have separate intentions and separate mindsets in comparison to us human. We see that in that case, with the rapid growing rate of intelligence of AI, we see that we're going to start to lose control over artificial intelligence in that case. We see that now we have something that will work more efficient, learn faster, and has a higher efficiency in everything that us humans do. We see that AI will start to replace us, which is ironically something that we can already see in our current society. We see AI taking thousands and thousands of jobs away. Because let's be honest, who wouldn't want to use something that's more efficient and cheaper? Ironically, now we have to compete with something that we created for our own benefits. Another problem with AI is problems with AI consciousness is not only because of them taking the jobs away from us, but there are bigger problems, such that if they do gain their own consciousness, with them with a higher intelligence, will they really submit under human regulations? Given this scenario, do you really think this will lead to the coexistence of human and AI, which is a replacement of human and AI? Now, to give another example of the coexistence of AI and human, I'd like to bring up a robot named Sophia in Saudi Arabia. Now, she is a robot that has been declared as citizens in many developed nations. We see that she does not only have the citizenship, she also has the ability to see, hear, recognize people, initiate conversations, and she even accepts interviews like any other celebrities would on televisions. Now we see that from Sophia, there are only going to be more robots just like her, sharing citizenship with us humans. Now to give a broader view of the coexistence of human and artificial intelligence, let's look at this on a global view. We see AI police stations in China, then we even see AI farmers in Russia, Brazil, Argentina. We see AI lawyers and AI financial accountants in London, and lastly, we even see AI genetics editing in embryos in Japan. We see that AI is not only capable of things that we can do, but things that us humans are never capable of. Will this great technological revolution really lead to a coexistence of human and artificial intelligence, or just a replacement of artificial intelligence to us humans? Thank you.
She's just like a human dictionary. Wow, I can't believe she knows so much about AI.
I agree. What a great way to end the night.
Let's give a round of applause to Ms. Glodon for supervising our club, our planning committee for devoting their time and efforts, and last but not least, all of the amazing speakers who participated this year in the event.
For listening to the TED Talks, we hope you had some fun, and stay tuned for other TED events in the future. Be sure to follow us on social media.
Next slide.